Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been such a long time. I'm currently in Bari, Italy, and it is, I believe, 1 a.m. and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to share a video. I'm going to do a video to share my experience of being a matured student today. I always wanted to do this video, but I haven't really gotten to it. In my last video, I talked about going back to university as a matured student, and I was really excited to get an offer from University College London, which is a top global university, so I'm happy about that. Now, going back to university as a matured student, whether in your late 20s, in your 30s, 40s, is seen as something brave, especially because you've been out of education for a while and, you're starting to think of a new purpose, or just doing something that you're interested in, something that you're passionate about. It's inspiring, it's seen as that. It's seen as very brave, a brave thing to do. It's seen as something that is inspiring, and in many ways it is. But I don't think people talk a lot about the dark side, the difficulties, the strain of being a matured student. And the toll that it takes on you. This isn't about just, doing academics and graduating at the end of it and getting a good job or signaling employers. It takes an emotional toll. But what has kept me going is my why. I always say that you have to go back to your why, the reason why you're doing what you're doing. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else, as long as it makes sense to you. And if the benefit of it outweighs the worries, the challenges, then it is worth it. And also, even though I'm going to talk about the dark side of being a mature student, I think that it is challenging, and these challenges would help you build not just your skills, but your character. I guess we build characters when we go through challenges. So I will be talking about that today. Anyways, welcome back to my channel. I am Jennifer Baker. If this is your first time here, welcome. So I'll just get into things right now. The first point I'm going to make is the financial strain of going back to uni as a mature student. Now, a lot of mature students have families. They have to pay rent. They have to feed their family. So uni can be financially challenging for mature students. Because you have to factor in transportation and in many cases tuition as well. If you're a mature student and maybe this is even a second degree for you, you've done a degree before, you've been out of education for a long time and you're going back to school, state resources are kind of limited, and in many cases, especially here in the UK, you have to cover the cost of your tuition, except you're doing something like medicine and nursing as a second degree. That way, your tuition gets funded by the NHS and part of it by the government. But not a lot of courses do that, so you might have to pay your tuition yourself. And if you have to do that, that means you have to work alongside study, alongside family. Now, I, as a matured student, I think I'm speaking from a place of privilege because I don't have, like really young children. So, but for other people, you might have like toddlers or babies, and you kind of have to factor in childcare as well with every other thing. So that can take its toll on you. But you'll be fine. Before you go to university, these are things that you have to kind of organize and sort out. You need to put your finances in place. If you are capable of working and paying tuition, then you should consider that and see, just see if that's a good fit for you, if that's something that you can do. And if you can get assistance from, your spouse, your family, of course, a lot of people get assistance, but it does take a toll on you financially. Now, the second thing I'm going to talk about is feeling behind. As a matured student, you're going to go into university with, people who are 18 or like 20, 21, and you're basically in the same boat as them. You're far off in age, but you're schooling with people who are younger than you. And sometimes you might be feeling out of place, like, oh my God, like I have wasted my years. But no, you haven't. It's normal to feel that way. I felt that way, and it just took me a little while to just come to terms and think of what I have achieved before coming back to university, and also more so the fact that I bring in, real world experience into university. And thinking about it that way has really helped me. This isn't about being in competition with the your younger colleagues, but it's about you. You bring in a wealth of experience. You've achieved so much in life. I have an NGO. I'm making impact. I'm back in uni because I'm interested in a particular thing. I'm interested in pursuing that purpose, and that's why I'm there. So whatever reason anyone else is there and their age doesn't really concern me. But I think in the beginning I was feeling a little bit behind and out of place. But then, I started thinking about it like, I'm a mature student, yes. I have achieved things before coming to university, and that's just life. We're not going to stay stagnant, we're going to keep growing and keep pursuing things. So you're not behind, you're where you're supposed to be, especially if you've thought it through. So you are where you are supposed to be. Now, the next thing I'm going to touch on is the fact that you may not have the luxury of time. Now, I'm not going to generalize this. I think there are some mature students who are well off and, just take time off everything else in your life to focus on education, and that's fine. So you have time to socialize, to join societies and join clubs. But for many mature students, they don't have the luxury of that time. Now, I'm not here to say that, time and uni is easier on, non-matured students, younger students, because it is hard on them as well. But they don't have the same commitments and responsibilities that matured students have. So, for example, family, you have children, you may have to pick from school, children whom you have to wake up early, get ready, and then drop them off at school, pick them up later at school, try to factor in childcare and everything else. There are days your kid may be sick and you have to take them to the hospital. For younger students, they generally don't have that kind of responsibility. So their responsibilities are very different. And if you're one who is also handling your tuition and, working and studying, then your time is also limited. Mine is because I work and I study. So it makes things a little bit difficult. I do prioritize my time, but like socializing, societies and clubs are not something that I prioritize. 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to go for the IOE ball, which I paid for. I bought the ticket. I was able to convince some of my friends in school to get a ticket and go to the ball with me. And they got tickets. Unfortunately, last minute, I had to cancel because at this point, I'm thinking, I have to do this thing. Like something came up, I have to do it. I can't go to the ball. So I had to cancel it altogether. So yeah, you wouldn't have the luxury of time, and that's fine. But it can also be limiting because you can see your younger cohorts doing internships, but you can't because, your time is occupied between juggling, studying, and, trying to do your assignments, prepare for seminars, do the seminar reading, and then go to work, and then take care of your family, and as well as just organizing your home. That's a lot. It takes a toll. But like I said, these are things to factor into your plan when you're thinking about going to university. These are things that you kind of have to organize. And, if you have time to join societies, it would help. If you have time to do internship, if you're not already doing something in line with, if you're not already working in a field that aligns with what you're studying, then it helps to do internships. And if you have that time, kudos, do it. Now, again, I've got down my next point, which is work and study. It just ties to what I've been saying earlier, that it's hard to juggle. Some people I know work nights and then have to go to uni the next morning. And sometimes they would do it back to back for 2 days. But you kind of have to find time to rest. Find you time. It is very, very important, because there's no point like really just exhausting yourself all over. If you're exhausted, then your brain won't function at its maximum level. You probably would just pick up your article, your readings for seminar or your assignments, and not understand, the simple commands, the simple things that you've been asked to do. You wouldn't understand it because your brain isn't functioning, and that's because you're exhausted. So you have to find time to sleep, eat well, hydrate, I know it's hard, but even if it's like during the day you're having like 20 minutes power naps, have your 20 minutes power naps. If the kids are in school, try to do some, do your assignment, try to get some rest in between, whatever you can get. And I think that if it helps if your lectures are recorded, and, seminars are very important. So you have to go into seminars. Seminars, I think they take attendance in all universities, especially in the UK. But some universities, in lectures, they don't take attendance. So if your lectures are recorded, and you feel like, you can't go into lectures that day and you need to sleep a little and rest, then fine, by all means do it. And then get back to your recording, to the lecture recording, and listen to it if the recordings are your vibe. For me, recordings doesn't really work for me because I find them very boring. I'd rather be in lecture, listening to the professor, and if I have questions I can ask. But then again, you can also ask questions in seminar. It's your time to ask questions in seminar. That's what the seminar leads are there for, to ask questions, to answer questions, and to make sure that they cover everything that you didn't understand at the lecture, and of course when you did the reading. Now you are going to feel stupid as a mature student. So you're going to go to class, you're going to be feeling out of place, and sometimes you would just stay quiet because you're thinking, oh, I have this question, but I think it's stupid. Or sometimes they may ask questions in class and maybe you have an answer, but you just feel like, oh, it's stupid. But I'm here to assure you, you will feel stupid. I have felt stupid several times, during lectures, during seminars. You will feel stupid, but I have to tell you something. There's no stupid question, Go ahead and ask your question anyway, And what's the worst that would happen? The worst that would happen is that you would get an answer to your question. So your seminar lead or your lecturer would answer that question that you have. And I can bet you that every other person sitting there probably have the same question, and they are just too scared to ask that same question that you asked. And again, I mentioned this in the beginning, that university is not just about signaling employers or getting your degree and getting a job and getting better pay. Yeah, that's part of it, but it's also about self-development. And by self-development, gaining confidence, and the way you gain confidence is to speak up in class. Nothing feels too stupid. Ask your questions, answer questions, and that way you start to learn to articulate yourself. You start to learn to speak up. You just become more confident. It helps. Speak up. Don't worry about anyone else there. You have questions that need answering. Ask that question. They ask you questions. You're articulating it in your head, but you're too scared to speak out. Speak out anyway. It doesn't matter if in your mind you think you're stupid. No. But you're brave enough to speak. And don't be scared. You belong there. You belong in that room just like everyone else there. And I bet you that everyone else there probably feels stupid as well. But again, we're coming to the end of the video. Like I said, uni as a matured student is challenging, but those challenges would help you build your character. You will build skills that you would be thankful for, confidence, leadership skills. You will build skills, and not just skills, like I said, you will build character. So this isn't about like competition with the younger students. This is about you. Know your why. Again, like I said, your why trumps everything else, right? That is what has helped me. I keep going back to my why. In challenging situations, I ask myself, okay, what am I learning from this? I know that I'm building not just skills, but I'm building character as well. This is, self-development for me too. And I know going to uni for self-development sounds very middle class, but no, that's not my case at all. Uni for me, on top of everything else, is about self-development. Utilize it. Utilize it and you'll be fine. Always go back to your why, and if your why trumps everything else, then it is worth it. And also, I have good news. I applied for the Laidlaw scholarship and I got it. That was a challenge for me, but I wanted to take that challenge. The amount being paid is not life-changing, and that means nothing to me, but rather what comes with being a Laidlaw scholar, the research skills, the leadership skills, and generally just meeting like minds, people who want to make impact in the world, and people who basically just are like-minded. But anyways, we've come to the end of this video. I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope this video helps someone out there, someone who's thinking of going back to school. Now, if you have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comments and I would respond. In the meantime, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a great day.